Welcome to the Flynn Brothers podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Jimmy. Today's big idea: classic rock is still cool. Ish.
We talk about our mostly unconditional love for classic rock and how its coolness has chilled over time.
Later, we analyze 12 of the most popular classic rock bands to determine one thing: are they cool?
Finally, we evaluate our highly unscientific data to determine which classic rock band is the coolest.
It's all coming up. But first, here's the Solons.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. 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 Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
You know, there's so many different kinds of genres of music. Does that make sense? Kinds of genres. Genres are sort of kinds. Is that immediately redundant? Did I blow it immediately?
You could say sub-genres, perhaps, I believe is the word we've come up with for what you're describing.
Well, there are many genres of music, let's just say. And
Okay.
I think if you look at all of them at one point or another throughout history, most of them were the most popular form of music. You know, we watch the Gilded Age, and for them, it's opera, right? That's the big, fun, hot, popular music. Nowadays, obviously, it's pop. There have been times when it's hip-hop and rap. There have been times when it's classic rock, and that's what we are going to talk about today. Of course, when the rock first came out, it wasn't considered classic rock. Only through the passage of time has it become classic rock.
Yeah, it was considered this dangerous music that was brand new and people didn't know how to respond to it, and now you use it to sell Chevys.
But that era of like the 60s, 70s, 80s, you know, all baby boomers, it's all our dad's favorite type of music, right? And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today.
Although our dad did just move into a retirement community, and part of, I think, the impetus for this episode is he said he's almost had too much classic rock.
Yes. They have a lot of cover bands that play. And of course, growing up, he heard all this music. But this came to us as well because we had seen this documentary on Netflix, Becoming Led Zeppelin. And we'd always liked Led Zeppelin and wanted to learn a little bit more. And, we were, after watching the documentary, listening to a lot of Led Zeppelin. We were driving around blasting, a whole lot of love and good times, bad times, and Dazed and Confused. And, you're getting into it as we were driving. We were really enjoying it. But then we kind of stepped back and looked at ourselves from sort of a third-party point of view and thought, Are we cool? Like, is it really cool to still blast classic rock? Like something that I think was almost the epitome of cool when the music came out, and then in many years and decades since has been cool. But I wonder, is classic rock still cool? How did we feel driving around playing Led Zeppelin?
I'd say a bit sheepish, quite frankly. I mean, it's not that the guys themselves weren't cool at the time or doing something that was cool.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happened to the Heath Ledger Joker.
Right.
All of these other people have appropriated this thing as part of their own personal identity, and they are not as cool as the originators. And so little by little, the coolness gets watered down, and you're less associating yourself with the band than you are with the other fans.
Well, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, rock stars were gods. All these old documentaries, they called these rock stars gods. And I think listening to the music gave you a little bit of that cool credibility. It kind of puts you in touch with these rock gods. But yes, to your point, I do wonder if it's been kind of watered down recently. I think classic rock goes one of two ways. Some of it is very artful. Some of it is very timeless. Some of it is very badass. But then on the other hand, there's songs that are very dated, very cheesy, very repellent, especially to women. There's a lot of like misogyny in classic rock as well. So what we're going to do in this episode, we're going to sort of separate the wheat from the chaff, if you will. We're going to thin the herd, and we're going to break down 12 bands we've discussed. Of course, we had to omit several bands. We've broken down what we think are the 12 most popular classic rock bands, and we're basically going to investigate, are they cool? Way to jump in, buddy. All right, here's the rules. So we're going to be focusing on what I call the classic rock era. So as I said, 60s, 70s, and a little 80s, but mostly 60s, 70s. So we're cutting out Elvis, Chuck Berry, none of the 50s, and then none of the 90s. So no Nirvana, no Pearl Jam, no grunge, stuff like that. These bands, they're going to be the most basic, widely heard classic rock bands, okay? Like I said, we had to leave out a few, but I think for the most part, we got the most well-known. You were comfortable with the 12, weren't you?
Yes, yeah, it was a solid 12.
And, we went toe-to-toe over it, but I think at the end of the day, we picked the right 12.
Duked it out.
These songs by these bands are still popular on the radio, so all the ones we talk about, you probably could turn on any classic rock station to hear one of their songs at any point. One type of band we omitted, the dude and his bands. So we don't have Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. We don't have Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. We don't have Neil Young and Crazy Horse. I don't know. It's just kind of a random way to eliminate a few of these bands. And I feel like these are all very good bands, but I don't know that they're quite like classic rock, play their hits on the radio type of bands necessarily.
Yeah, they're more of like a singer-songwriter that's beefing up their tunes with a whole band behind them.
No punk. We're not doing any punk music, so no Clash, no Sex Pistols, no metal or super heavy rock, so no Metallica, nothing like that. And obviously, for copyright reasons, we're not going to be able to play any of these songs, but if we have to, I think we could sound them out and hope we avoid copyright infringement. Will's checking with our lawyers. What do you think? You think we'd be okay with that?
He's giving us the thumbs up. To be safe, I'd say let's do 3-second hits. That's
Okay,
all.
good,
We get
good.
3-second hits.
All
of
right,
these
so here's the
songs.
criteria we'll use to evaluate every band. You're going to give us your one-sentence summary of the band. I'm going to go through the players, right, who are all the band members when the band was founded or at kind of the height of their popularity. And then we'll go through some of the greatest hits. And, of course, everyone's favorite segment, Flynn Brothers favorites, maybe some of the deeper cuts from these bands that we enjoy. And then we're going to kind of answer 3 cool questions to determine if they're cool. Number 1, would you play this band at a party you're hosting? Number 2, do they pass the hot woman in a convertible test? Now, I'm going to explain this. We duked this out. The hot woman in a convertible test is you are at a stoplight in your car playing this band's song very loud, and a hot woman in a convertible pulls up, and she looks over at you. Would she think you are cool, or would she think you are lame? That is the hot woman in a convertible test. Because, again, a lot of these songs quite repellent to women, and, what's cooler in rock and roll than a gorgeous gal in a convertible, right?
There's been dozens of songs written about that very concept. I think too, it has to be a sort of gut feeling in and of yourself.
Right.
Would you feel sheepish? Would you maybe reach for the dial and turn it down a bit if you saw the woman in the convertible?
And then final question: are they cool? All right, you ready to get started?
I'm foaming.
All right, you're foaming. You're chomping at the bit. You're
There it
foaming
is.
at the mouth. Here we go. Led Zeppelin will be our first band. John, give us your one-sentence summary of Led Zeppelin.
Perhaps the most technically brilliant band of all time. Definitely the most misogynist.
Yes, I think that's true, and the documentary did not shy away from that. The players of Led Zeppelin, we have Jimmy Page, who I would say most people would consider a top 3 guitarist. John Bonham, the drummer, I think most people would consider him a top 3 to 5 rock drummer of all time. John Paul Jones, iconic, legendary bassist. And, of course, Robert Plant, who is the singer, not our favorite rock singer of all time. You especially are not a huge fan of Robert Plant.
I think the first time you hear him, you're like, wow, that is an incredible voice. And then after about 6 minutes of hearing him, it's like, this is beginning to veer on. This is going too far, but fingernails on the chalkboard territory to me. And then in terms of the sort of misogyny of this band, in the documentary talked about being inspired by blues singers,
Right.
which blues singers, there is a lot about women doing fellas wrong, and you can't trust this woman, and she's a runaround gal and all that. And for whatever reason, in the blues guys' voice doesn't seem so bad, but with Plant, it's like, oh, jeez, buddy.
Well, he does a lot of interludes of moaning and
Yes.
sort of orgasmic sounds. I think it can be a little
Right.
grating. It's Led Zeppelin, known for their long solos and indulgences. Led Zeppelin's hits, of course, Stairway to Heaven, Dazed and Confused, Immigrant Song. Give me the sound Robert Plant makes, the yell he does at the beginning of Immigrant Song. Do you remember it? No, it's good. There's Black Dog, Cashmere, and a whole lot of
I
love.
gave it a shot.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I'm always game,
I
even
think
when
we-
I don't know what I'm doing.
Don't worry, it was less than 3 seconds, so the copyright-wise, we're okay. Flynn Brothers' favorites. It is a misogynistic song, but I do love "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You." There's the misogyny in the song is he's basically been with this woman, and then he says, "I'm gonna leave you. I ain't joking, woman. I got to ramble." That was
Right.
back in the '60s and '70s when if you didn't want to hang out with a gal, nowadays there's ghosting and then whatever else. But back then you just told them, "I gotta ramble," and then you chalked it up to, "Hey, that's who that guy is. He's a rambling man."
Hey, Susan, whatever happened to Robert? Oh, he rambled on me.
Guys,
rambled.
they're
You know,
always rambling.
guys.
There's another part in "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You" where there's kind of a guitar break that goes da-na-na-na-na, 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 da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. And I couldn't help but notice when I heard it, I'm a big fan of Chicago, and they have that song 25 or 6 to 4, which basically is the exact same guitar riff. And, obviously Chicago came after Led Zeppelin. I was like, oh, I wonder if maybe they picked that up. Led Zeppelin, such an influential band. Who knows? Who knows?
I think it's almost a carbon copy, so it'd have to be a yes. But it's used as like an interlude. I feel like sometimes there is that leeway for bands if one band is just like, well, this is just kind of a tossed off little riff that we have. The Clash and the Fratellis have sort of a similar thing.
Curious.
That I've noticed.
Another Flynn brother favorite, what is and what should never be. Great utilization of the high-low concept that comes along later in grunge music. I'll ask you the cool questions. Would you play Led Zeppelin at a party you're hosting?
No.
Wow, really?
I think their songs are too long, and there's too many times where the guy goes into the moaning fests. Like if there's
Depends
just
on the party,
if there's
I
just a
guess.
little air in the conversation, and you have Plant going,
Maybe you'd have to put it on kind of a shuffle where you play like the
Yeah.
first 40 seconds of the song and then it shuffles to another one.
Right. I could see it being mixed in. It would not be an album I would play
Oh, fair
at
enough.
a
Fair
at
enough.
a party.
That's fair to say. Does Led Zeppelin pass the hot woman in a convertible test? Would you feel comfortable playing them at a stoplight as a hot woman in a convertible pulls up?
No, I don't think so. I think Led Zeppelin is a dude's band.
You don't
kind
think
of.
gals like Led Zeppelin?
I don't think gals like
Greta
Led
Van
Zeppelin.
Vliet, that's many female members. They basically rip off Zeppelin's sound whole cloth.
Yes, but they basically sand off the rough edges
enough.
of what makes Led
enough.
Zeppelin Led Zeppelin.
Fair enough. Finally, is Led Zeppelin cool?
I would actually say yes to this. I
Interesting,
do think they're
interesting,
cool.
okay.
They're really good at their instruments. They made incredible music. They have this very unique chemistry and a very unique sound, I think, and they rock hard. And
Beautiful.
It's cool to rock hard.
Beautiful. We'll have Will and ourselves will kind of keep score of these. It's kind of hard, very subjective forms of metrics, but we'll do our best here. Moving on to the next band, we have AC/DC. Give us your one-sentence summary of AC/DC.
The band that makes 8-year-old boys feel like gods.
Yes, I remember attending many a party or event where there was a DJ when I was a kid, and Back in Black or TNT would
yeah.
come on, and you would just be ripping up the dance floor, juiced up on Coca-Cola or Mr. Pibb or something,
Yeah, it makes 8-year-old boys at a pool party feel like they're the main characters in Reservoir Dogs walking out when Back in Black starts playing.
So the players of AC/DC, they're an Australian band, I believe our only Australian band, founded by brothers Angus and Malcolm Young, who both play guitar. Other members sort of rotated, but the singers included Dave Evans, Bon Scott, who sadly died young of alcohol poisoning, and Brian Johnson. The AC/DC name, I had kind of known this. I ripped this from Wikipedia, so I'm just going to quote, for those who don't know, the name of AC/DC. Here's where it comes from. Quote, upon formation, Malcolm and Angus developed the band's name after their sister Margaret pointed out the symbol AC/DC on the AC adapter of her sewing machine. AC/DC is an abbreviation for alternating current, direct current electricity. The brothers felt that this name symbolized the band's raw energy and power-driven performances of their music. It is pronounced one letter at a time, although the band in Australia, they are colloquially known as Akadaka. How about that?
Akadaka.
Those Kiwis down there.
No.
Is
they're
that
not.
New Zealand?
That's New Zealand.
That's New Zealand.
Aussies.
Those Aussies. Sorry. Shows how culturally ignorant I am. The hits, we mentioned some of them. Back in Black, Highway to Hell, You Shook Me All Night Long, Thunderstruck. Flynn Brothers' favorites, though, you really enjoyed TNT, right? That's your favorite AC/DC song?
Absolutely. Gets me really gassed up. I mean, it plays a pivotal role in Talladega Nights,
Yes.
and it sends chills up my spine.
Speaking of AC/DC songs and movies from the mid-2000s, It's a Long Way to the Top, If You Want to Rock and Roll, features prominently in School of Rock. Another great song. It was one of their early hits. It's just about, hey, if you want to be in a band, it takes a little while, It takes a little while to get to the top,
Boy, and it really gains a lot of pathos with the Jack Black encore performance at the Battle of the Bands. It's a long way to the top for that substitute teacher.
Absolutely. Last Flynn Brother favorite. I really enjoyed Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. You maybe find it a little character-y and silly.
Dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Yeah.
Little too character-y for you.
Fried my throat there.
Well, good. At least we avoided copyright. Would you play AC/DC at a party you're hosting?
Yes,
I would too,
I
yeah.
would throw them on. I think that's a good time.
Huge crowd pleaser,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Everyone, any type of person, I think,
Yes,
likes AC/DC.
yeah.
Do they pass the hot woman in a convertible test?
I'd probably feel all right. I'd feel all right. I'd be a little
Dirty
sheepish.
deeds
Yeah,
done
that one
dirt
would be
cheap.
tough. But God, now that I'm looking at these Back in Black, highway to
You're
hell,
in your Honda
you
CRV.
shook me all night
You're
long.
in Honda CRV
Hey,
playing Back in Black.
I might have to say no to this. I might be a
right.
little sheepish on that
All
one.
right. And then finally, is AC/DC cool?
That is a tough question.
I think unimpeachably.
Yes,
For
okay.
sure they're cool, dude. Wearing the
Yeah.
shorts on stage. They got a good sense of humor.
It's true.
They are cool, man.
They
for
don't
sure
take
cool.
themselves that seriously. They do rock extremely hard. There are some fun things, and then also they have some pretty sweet arena rock anthems. So yes, they're cool. They're cool. I'd say they're not the coolest that we're talking about here, but they're cool.
All right, more bands after the break. Well, one segment in, and I've already made a mistake. Our producer Will at the break informed me that Greta Van Fleet does not have any female members. It's just all men, but they all have very long hair. So I probably got a little mixed up with the name of the band and the long-haired gentleman. So I apologize to Greta Van Fleet. You have all male members.
Yeah, it's the name of a lady. That
Yes.
must have been what got
Must
you.
have tripped me up. There's a lot of garbage up in my head, so you gotta, like I said earlier, gotta separate the wheat from the chaff.
Right.
All right, let's go to the next band. We have Kiss. Give us your one sentence summary for Kiss.
Hard rockers who are also bizarrely face-painted sex gods.
Excellent. Yes, the members of Kiss: Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, and then of course Ace Frehley and Peter Criss. I think in terms of all these bands, hard to say there's any above them in terms of marketing and merchandise. And I think it's because they all had the characters. They all had the face paint. I mean, we weren't around so much in the 80s, but that era and just on every lunchbox, on every, action figure, all those sorts of things, they really figured out how to be a great rock band in the age of consumerism.
That's true. They really do split this very narrow gap between like pro wrestler, theater,
Kabuki.
Yeah, it is just this very distinct thing. I think too, it is something that is pretty lost to time.
Yeah.
I was parking the other day, and I was getting out of my car, and there was this woman. They were going to some Kiss show because her husband was wearing a Kiss shirt, and she actually had her face painted. And I like sort of gave him a nod as I do to just pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
She looked back at me and she stuck her tongue out, Gene Simmons style, and threw up the rock
Wow.
on. And I was like,
Wow.
that's really cool that these people are so deep into the lives of their fans.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when I look at them, it's just like, I really just don't very much understand it. And then you would think they would be more like freaky in terms of their lyricism and stuff like that.
Right.
But if you just hear them, you would have no clue that they have all this extra aesthetic to them.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Kiss's greatest hits. We have Rock and Roll All Night. We have Love Gun, Detroit Rock City, and of course, their power ballad, Beth, one of the great 80s rock power ballads. Flynn Brothers favorites, to be honest, like, I don't know how you feel. I don't love Kiss.
No, they're not our guys.
I like Detroit Rock City.
Yeah.
I mean, some of their tunes are pretty catchy, but yeah, I don't know. None of their songs like I'm throwing on all the time. Would you play Kiss at a party you're hosting?
Probably not. I don't know. It's just not. They're not really my favorite band. But
I'd agree. Maybe one or two.
I think they have some fun. I mean, Rock and Roll All Night. Again, it's like one of those things too where it was probably cool when it first happened, but now to say that you want to rock and roll all night and party every day just is a little bit like cringe, I guess.
Yes, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Even though it is an awesome lifestyle, obviously.
The issues, too, with Kiss is a lot of their songs are just filler. They have a few of their hits, but they don't. A lot of the other songs I think are kind of, not the best.
All right.
Do they pass the hot woman in a convertible test? You want to play Detroit Rock City? Red light.
Get up.
Yeah.
That one I wouldn't feel too bad about. Love Gun, I'd be a bit sheepish, and Rock and Roll All Night. So I'm probably giving them the no.
Probably
if I'm just throwing on one song.
Is
there.
Kiss cool?
Poof, boy.
Let me step in if I may.
Go for it.
At one time they may have been, but no longer
No
is
longer.
Kiss cool, I would say.
No longer. I saw a terrible viral video in my endless social media scrolling of Gene Simmons applying his own makeup, which apparently he does.
When he
would
would, wow.
Which I think is kind of cool. But at the same time, there's something grim about seeing a 70-plus-year-old man do that.
Do the Kiss makeup.
Which, happy for him, but I don't think it's
him,
cool.
He made probably more money in one night than we've seen combined in our entire lives.
That's
right.
right.
And that was 40 years ago.
That's right. A heck of a tongue.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next band. We have Aerosmith. Give us your one-sentence summary of Aerosmith.
A sleazy, sincere, prototypical hard rock band fronted by one of humanity's strangest looking people.
Yeah, of course you're referring to Aerosmith frontman Steven Tyler. Even when he was young, he was just
bizarre.
Crazy.
Bizarre.
It's not good to make fun of how someone looks, but just objectively speaking, huge mouth, crazy hair, crazy eyes. He just is a bizarre looking man. That's all. He's very handsome. He's bedded many gorgeous women. He's had a gorgeous daughter, but a crazy looking guy.
I think part of it is he is one of those kind of like Zoe Kravitz or Timothy Chalamet that and Zendaya just splits the gender divide right down the middle to where you're like, I don't know what to exactly make of this person.
Right. David Bowie, Prince, a lot of rock stars have done that, right?
Exactly.
Yes,
I think he does it quite well.
Yes.
And then strange, maybe captivating would be another way of putting it as well.
Yes. To be a little more positive.
Yes. But look, you don't ever. I've never heard anybody say, that person looks like Steven Tyler.
Yes, you'll never hear that in your life. Other members of Aerosmith, in addition to Steven Tyler, we had Tom Hamilton, Joey Kramer, Joe Perry, and Brad Whitford. My issue with Aerosmith, and this was an opinion my dad shared with our dad, I should say. We do have the same father.
Right.
I should clarify.
Right.
No matter what the letter said that random man sent us.
Oh, he was institutionalized. He was crazy.
That's right. That's right. My dad has always felt this way, that the Aerosmith is always sort of a Rolling Stones knockoff, and I do think it's kind of true. It's just like Steven Tyler's kind of Diet Coke Mick Jagger, and just their songs overall, it's just Diet Coke, Rolling Stones, I feel like. Aerosmith had a big peak in the 70s and then kind of dwindled down, had a lot of critical and commercial failures. And then, of course, huge resurgence in the late 80s because of the DMC collaboration on Walk This Way. And, since then, they've been one of the top-selling American hard rock bands. Very interesting career trajectory. But, overall, it's just, I don't know how original they are. I don't know how much I love them.
I would say that they do have a little bit more of a sweeping nature to them, maybe than the Rolling Stones.
Operatic, almost.
I think there's a little bit more of that. I think aesthetically, you can absolutely make that argument that they are like that. Just looks like the Rolling Stones right there. But yeah, songs like Dream On. I can see really the Rolling Stones making Dream On. Walk This Way. You could see maybe the Rolling Stones doing that.
Yeah.
Sweet Emotion. I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. These are kind of more, I feel like, in their wheelhouse. That's why I said like sincere. There are these like strangely like sincere songs that they have in their catalog.
It's true. All those songs you mentioned are their hits. I don't know that I really. Do you have any Flynn Brother favorites of this list? I do like Don't Wanna Close My Eyes. I mean that is a fun song. Did you know it was from the Armageddon soundtrack?
I did not.
I did not know that.
I did not know that. Dream On. If you're you really want that. Again, it's this just like high sincerity, and then Walk This Way. That's a pretty cool one.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
Inspired by a line in what Mel Brooks movie? Do you know?
Oh, it's got to be Young Frankenstein.
That's right. I believe they're quoting Igor says that at one point. Would you play Aerosmith at a party you're hosting? Dream on.
I think it's a no, sadly.
Yes, I probably agree with that. Do they pass the hot woman in a convertible test?
I think this is
I
a
think
yes.
they passed this.
I think
I
this
do
is a
think
yes.
they passed this. Woman pulls up next to you. Don't wanna close my eyes.
Yeah,
I think
give her a
so.
nod.
Hey,
That's
wait.
it. I'm in touch. I'm in touch with my emotions.
You seen Armageddon? Is Aerosmith cool? I think no. I don't know that they're cool. It's weird how some can pass the hot woman in a convertible test, but then I don't
not
find them
cool.
cool.
Yeah. It'd be like cool is kind of like you'd put them on if you were trying to like kind of impress somebody or be like, yeah, well, let's listen to some of this.
A stranger comes up to you, you're like, what kind of music do you like? I like Aerosmith.
Yeah, that's a no for
That's
me,
probably a no,
unfortunately.
right?
I do think Tyler is cool.
Yeah, Steven Tyler's pretty cool. Yeah. All right, next band, Pink Floyd. Let's hear your one-sentence summary of Pink Floyd.
They are the slightly indulgent, slightly pretentious mind blowers of rock.
Good. I see you put mind blowers in
Yes.
sort of winking quotations. there.
And in my enunciation, I
Yes.
thought.
Well, I wanted to make sure visual learners
they caught
could,
it.
the players of Pink Floyd. We have Roger Waters, Nick Mason, Richard Wright, and Sid Barrett, who was eventually replaced by David Gilmour. Their hits, of course, Pink Floyd known more for their full albums and kind of concerts and stuff, but their individual hits, Wish You Were Here, Hey You, Money, and then Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, which is the one that goes, We Don't Need No Education. Oh, it was almost 3 seconds. Almost
Yeah,
copyright.
easy there, buddy.
But yeah, I think in terms of my favorites, I don't know that there's too many of these I throw on. I will occasionally throw on, I guess, Dark Side of the Moon once every handful of years, but are you really ever going to like, oh man, that one Pink Floyd song, I gotta just feel it in my bones right now?
No, I think they're pretty cool when you look at them they really do kind of construct their albums in this holistic way.
Yes.
Where
Yes.
one song bleeds into the next
Yes.
and they feed each other and everything. So I think that's cool, but I also think some of those touches that they have can go on a little long.
Yes.
And it sort of takes away from the propulsiveness of the whole project when you get these long interludes of non-musical stuff.
Indulgence is the hallmark of many of these classic rock bands. Would you play Pink Floyd at a party you're hosting?
Maybe.
I think I would.
Yeah.
Because you could throw on the whole album and just
Yeah.
kind of leave it. I think it's sort of atmospheric. I'd say yes to that.
Yeah.
Do they pass the hot woman in a convertible test?
Yeah.
I'm a little split on that. Maybe I'll lean yes. Because
think
I
I'd
think
lean yes.
money. If you
Yeah.
played that, hey you.
Yeah.
But then there's some weird ones too, right?
Right.
So that's
But
kind of that's a coin toss. I
Coin
feel
toss.
like. Maybe a coin toss.
we got to say yes or no. I'm going to give it a yes.
Finally, is Pink Floyd cool?
Boy. I feel like if I see somebody wearing a Pink Floyd shirt, I'm like, that's kind of cool.
I think
Even
we're
though-
split on this.
Yeah.
I think you like them more than me.
Okay.
They're obviously, it goes without saying, they're very associated with like stoner culture and
Right.
like, oh, dude, Dark Side of the Moon with the
Right.
Wizard of Oz, and like that sort of frame of mind. So I don't know. Like I I saw someone online who I follow professing their sort of love and devotion to Pink Floyd, and I certainly didn't find it cool. But you find it cool. Hey, it's okay for us
I'm
to
giving it
disagree.
an X. I'm giving it an
Split
X
vote,
because
huh?
otherwise they'd be 3 checks, and I don't like them enough to give them the 3 check.
Well, we can disagree. There's no rule against it.
Well,
but you think they're cool? They're cool. It is what it is.
you know. All right. I'm not. You swayed me.
All right. Next band, we have the Eagles. Give us your 1-sentence summary of Eagles.
This one I sort of struggled to sum up. I've got a nice little term here, but I've got
Yeah.
virtuoso guitar playing and singing, occasionally hack lyrics, massively popular. To me, they are the Merlot of hard rock. And I will explain.
Interesting.
Merlot famously had sales tank after it was savaged by Paul Giamatti and Sideways.
Right.
The Eagles, I think, are fun to hate upon, not only because they're quite mainstream, but because the dude from The Big Lebowski
Right.
professed a disgust for the Eagles.
Right.
And so if you want to like this movie, you got to dislike this other thing.
Yeah, I think it's fashionable to hate on the Eagles. It's fashionable to hate on lots of things that are very popular. Our dad who got us into classic rock, the one thing he said is, they are a good band. They were just overplayed. If I'm listening to a classic rock station and I'm doing errands and driving around a lot, I will hear Hotel California 50 years after it came out. And it's been that way every single day for that entire time. And I think most people do admire the musicianship. They do admire the lyrics. They do admire sort of the feel that the Eagles cultivate. But I do think there is this notion that, gosh, they are just so popular. And it's like, why would I seek them out when I literally hear their song all the time? So there may be there's maybe a sort of commercial quality to it where it's just like, God, I hear the Eagles in Target. I hear them in my car. I hear them everywhere I go. Even now, 50 years later.
Yeah, they're appropriate pretty much in every situation. To make another food comparison, they're the vanilla ice cream of hard rock. It's good, but it's like, what am I going to order? Vanilla ice cream? I went out. There's
I can
other
get
flavors.
vanilla ice cream whenever I want.
I'll probably get it at some social function I show up to.
The players, Glenn Fry, Don Henley, Randy Meisner, and Bernie Leadon. Eagles have a lot of hits. Hotel California, Life in the Fast Lane, Take It Easy, Witchy Woman, too many to name. One of my favorites is Desperado. That's a great ballad. That's a really wonderful song. But I got to admit, I've heard Hotel California a billion times, and when it still comes on, I kind of still like it. So it's like there is something to be said for you can hear one of their songs hundreds, thousands of times, and it's still kind of fun. There is something to be said for that.
Cool wind in my hair.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. It's just there's this 10% of a put on character that they're playing. You could maybe see that they're maybe a little phony, which is one of the cardinal sins of hard rock. You can't be phony. You got to be real. But I agree. I think even if there's times where I'm like, oh, this song again, and then midway through the chorus, I'm like, never know not gonna
California.
yeah, that one's too expensive. Stop. That one's too expensive.
Would you play the Eagles at a party you're roasting?
They got they're good background music for sure.
I think it would be so odd if I went to someone's house and I was like, what is this? Like a mix? Like a Spotify random? They're like, no, I just put on some Eagles. I would be very perturbed. I would be very confused. If it wasn't an autoplay type of scenario or the radio is on, I'd be like, you searched Eagles on your streamer and started playing. I just would find it very odd.
You played the Apple Music Eagles Essentials playlist.
Right. I would just find
you
it
would
very
find it
odd.
All right, I'm giving it an X.
Okay. Well, it's up to you. Look, we could be split.
I think if I'm saying they're background music, that means that you're not really listening.
That's fair.
to
That's fair. Do the Eagles pass the hot woman in a convertible test?
it. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. If a woman pulled up and playing Hotel California,
She might be playing it.
Yeah, right. If she's got the radio on, and 10% chance it's Hotel California. There's probably a statistic that if you were in any city in America playing the radio for at least 2 hours a day, you will hear Hotel California.
Would you say that at any one given moment, Hotel
is
California
playing on a
is
radio
playing?
station in
Okay,
America?
okay.
Absolutely.
Probably.
Are the Eagles cool?
No.
No, they're not.
No.
They're not.
I think they're so uncool though right now. There could be a reclaiming.
There could
of
be.
the
I
Eagles.
would not be surprised if in the next 5 years it's like, hey, let's stop pretending.
You heard it here first.
Yes.
The Eagles will be cool again, but they are not cool. Should we call them cool now? Should we start it?
Start it.
we can't.
No, they're not presently
We're
cool, but in
evaluating.
the very near future,
Yeah.
they will.
Yeah.
Good adherence to scientific method.
That's
by the
right.
way. Yes, very good. All right, quick break. When we come back, more bands. Okay, next band, Queen. What is your one-sentence summary for Queen?
They are simultaneously the kings of arena rock and maestros of composition and emotion.
I agree. Very flattering. I absolutely love Queen. I think, they're incredibly popular. Everyone loves Queen, right?
Yeah. I think, too, the story of them with Freddie Mercury dying sadly too young from AIDS just gives them this extra quality that you kind of want in bands. And it's not as sad as it is extremely sad, but it's one of those more like cosmic things as opposed to like dying from your own hand drug overdose. That sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. The players of Queen, of course, as you mentioned, Freddie Mercury, Brian May, Roger Taylor, and John Deacon. Their hits, oh boy, so many to name. We Are the Champions. Another one, Bites the Dust. Bohemian Rhapsody. We Will Rock You. Flash. Somebody to Love. Crazy Little Thing Called Love. And let's get to our favorites. I really love Fat Bottom Girls. You a fan of that song?
Yes, the song, yes.
Yeah, sorry. And then another great one is It's Late.
Yeah,
that
that
is
was
a really
awesome.
terrific song. They have 2 albums named after Marx Brothers films, A Day at the Races and A Night at the Opera. Very cool.
How about that?
Isn't
very
that cool?
Very cool.
Yeah, man, they're wonderful. During the break, Will was positing that Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven might be one of the most popular songs of all time.
Famous, yes,
Famous,
famous songs of all
well-known
time,
throughout
yeah.
the world. If I were to throw my hat into the ring and pick one, I think it might be We Are the Champions.
Yeah.
I feel like that
true.
song is about as popular as it gets at sports games. I mean, internationally, I feel like that is a very, very popular one, too,
It's a great song. No Time for Losers.
Yeah.
It is just the gall of some of these songs that they've
Yeah.
written. Like
We
to
will
write,
rock you.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah, to write We Are the Champions too. But at the same time, man, like Somebody to Love, It's Late. Like these are really just like late night sleazy club like it would be
Yes.
a great song in a really small room, and they also have these songs that are just designed for 60,000 people to sing at the
Yes.
best moment of their sporting fan life.
It's kind of what Aerosmith's going for with that sort of operatic style, right? That is almost cinematic in its styling. Would you play Queen at a party you're hosting?
100%.
100%. I agree. Do they pass the hot woman in a convertible test?
100%.
100%. Are they cool?
100%.
100%.
Our first 3 checker.
This is one that, this horse could go far, right? This one could win the Derby, so to speak.
Yes. I think if you were to... They are very experimental, but I don't know if they kind of have their arena rock lane, and they kind of have their, like... It's late at a bar, and we're
Yes.
throwing this on, and we're all going to sing it together.
A few
type
ballads, too.
lane.
Kind of
Yes.
some more sensitive piano pieces.
Whereas some of the bands that we'll get into later have a little bit more of some genre bending,
Yes.
perhaps, that you would say.
a little more dynamic range
yes.
and versatility.
But
yeah.
man, I mean, Freddie Mercury's voice, incredible. Bohemian Rhapsody is another one of those things that's just been overplayed so many times
yeah.
that when you occasionally just get it on its own and just
Yes.
give it the attention it deserves, man, it is just
Brilliant.
I mean, I'm not, breaking any barriers
Nope.
here saying that's okay.
Wayne-
Moving on. then.
It's getting a little eerily close to Wayne's World right now. All right, let's go to the
It's
next
basic. This is exactly Wayne's World.
band. Let's go to the next band. We have The Who. What's your one-sentence summary of The Who?
Highly influential hit makers who feel a bit lost to time.
I agree. I think with rock aficionados. They're high up on everyone's list, like the rock fan.
Yeah.
They love the Who. But in terms of popularity and in terms of hearing them on the radio, I feel like, as you say, they've been lost to time a bit. The players, we have Roger Daltrey, Pete Townsend, John Entwistle, and Keith Moon. Their hits, we have My Generation, Pinball Wizard, Bob O'Reilly, Won't Get Fooled Again, Behind Blue Eyes, Who Are You? I always think it's funny when a band has a song with their name in it. I always enjoy that quite a bit. That's always wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. One of our favorites, Bob O'Reilly, which that keyboard interlude it goes way longer than you think it does. Yeah,
it's true.
It builds really beautifully. I think that's kind of one of the things with them is I feel like they kind of came one of the earlier bands that we're talking about here, and as a result, maybe some of the pace of their songs is a little bit more languid than some of the other ones that we've talked about. They're not quite as you compare these to AC/DC,
right?
Yeah.
And listening to the Who compared to some of these other bands feels a little more like studying or doing homework.
Yes.
It's a little more scholarly than, like you say, putting on Back in Black. Would you play the Who at a party you're hosting?
Unless it was a really relaxed party, it's probably a no from me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe an outdoor shindig, but
Yeah.
it just people hanging out in a house. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know about that. Do they pass the hot woman in a convertible test?
Man, I don't know. Who are you?
Yeah. I won't get fooled again. Yeah.
I mean, they're not. That isn't too bad.
No, I think
maybe I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
I think so. Is the Who cool? I my gut says yes. I do.
I think
the
so
Who's
too.
Cool,
I think if
yeah.
you know about the Who, and they don't seem like they've really. I think when we were younger, they were more like a part of the
Yes,
cultural memory.
I agree. I do agree.
Like I remember seeing lots of people wearing the Who shirts.
playing
there being
it more.
Yes, there being the Who graphic tees at Target.
Yes. They might be on kind of a last tour right now, but yeah, I do wonder if this lost to time thing has some juice to it. Just
I think
because
that was my gut when I made the gut feel when I did our one sentence. But I'll give them the are they cool.
I think they're cool.
Yeah.
I do think they're cool. All right, next band, Van Halen. What's your one sentence summary of Van Halen?
They probably have the weakest songs of all these bands, but the sickest solos.
Yes, absolutely. And that, of course, is due to the players, specifically Eddie Van Halen, who is brothers with the drummer Alex Van Halen. Bassist Michael Anthony was in Van Halen. And then, of course, their frontman was David Lee Roth, who was later replaced by good friend of Guy Fieri, Sammy Hagar.
You know, I saw Sammy Hagar play one time. There's this group that actually features a fair amount of, it's like a super group. They're called the Kings of Chaos. And they feature members from a lot of these different bands, kind of more the ones of the 80s. Guy was a legend. Literally rolled up at the maybe 5 minutes before he came on, brought a bottle of the tequila that I believe he owns with Guy Fieri, was passing out shots, saying 5 or 6 songs, everyone screaming his name, saying, "We love you, Sammy," and he's off the stage. In and out in 45 minutes, made everybody feel like $1 million. Sammy Hagar, quality dude.
How about that? Van Halen's hits. We have Jump, dun, 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 dun. Hot for Teacher, Eruption, which is just a Eddie Van Halen guitar solo that leads into their cover of the Kinks' You Really Got Me. I really felt bad cutting the Kinks out of this episode. They were the one. If I had to do 13, I probably would have included them. A lot of hits, great band. I just feel they weren't quite as uber popular as some of these other ones like Van Halen. Because I think people know the Kinks and appreciate the Kinks. If you're into rock, you know them. But I think for the average person, maybe they just aren't as like white hot popular as some of these other ones.
Yeah, I think they're just sort of, they got blown out of the water by the Stones and the Beatles.
Yes. And they're great. The
yeah.
Kinks are great.
Yeah.
I honestly, if I was ranking them, they'd probably be in all the ones we've listed. They'd probably be in my top 5.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
top
yeah,
3
yeah.
of the ones
There's
we've
a
already
lot of
listed,
lot
right?
of songs of theirs that I like.
Would you play? Oh yeah, sorry. Flynn Brothers favorites. Like you said, I think Van Halen songs are kind of weak. I don't really. Are there any of these you really go to?
No, not really.
At a basketball game, it's kind of fun to hear Jump, I guess.
Yeah.
Would you play them at a party you're hosting?
No, because
No,
just not
I just think
not
it's
my
too
favorite.
weird. Do they pass the hot woman in a convertible test?
Maybe in the 80s, probably not.
Probably
now.
not anymore. Are they cool?
it depends all on how you think about guitar solos. Guitar solos, like the Eagles, I think have been so uncool for so long. I'm ready to call it again. I
Yes.
think they're coming back.
Guitar solos
Are back. I do think it's really, as somebody who is not that good at the guitar, I think it's pretty awesome.
Yes.
Somebody
yes.
being that good at the guitar.
Yes.
So I will say that they're cool for Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen is cool. There's
Okay.
There's
I think
lots of stories about him just.
I think they're cool.
Yeah, he apparently his thing was he was not a huge like partier with women, but he would do a bunch of stimulants and then just be in his hotel room playing guitar.
He was in love with the guitar.
Yes,
That was the love of his life.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Next band, Creedence Clearwater Revival, one of our absolute favorites. Let's hear your one-sentence summary.
Convincing Liars from El Cerrito, who made the best Bayou rock ever.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Creedence has this sort of swampy bayou sound, and all the guys are from El Cerrito, which is in the Bay Area, so it's just hilarious. They are, like you say, convincing liars.
I'll say this: it is, it's not. It is kind of swampy. There's a lot of water. Kind of in El
that's true.
Cerrito. It's sort
not,
of like
it's not as
delta.
swampy, but yeah, it's fair
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
The players of CCR, we have John and Tom Fogerty, Stu Cook, and Doug Clifford. They weren't together a super long time, but made some albums. And of course, the album that everyone pretty much has is their greatest hits double album, Chronicle. There's every single track on the 20-track double album is a hit, but some of them. Fortunate Son.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen The Rain? Down on the Corner. It's been in a Walgreens commercial. And then they got some great covers. Susie Q, I Put a Spell on You, Heard It Through the Grapevine. We've had the Chronicle CD in our car for as long as we could drive. It is one of the greatest hits albums ever. You can go back and listen to Creedence's albums, and they're good. They're like with a lot of these classic rock bands, there's some filler, and then there's the hits. But man, Chronicle is just one of the greatest collections of music ever produced.
top to bottom, I've heard it so many times that I need to take breaks from it, and then once I can only listen to it one time all the way through. But when you do get that one time all the way through, you're like, man, these guys. They made some of the best music ever.
Growing up in Northern California, one of our favorites is Lodi, where there's a song about them being stuck in Lodi and kind of at their wits' end. Having been to Lodi many a time, we know that it's
not a place you'd like to be stuck.
Not a place you want to be stuck in again. And then we have Long As I Can See the Light, kind of a slower, more ballady number. That's a really wonderful one as well.
Yeah, they just have really incredible power, obviously, in the vocals. And then I think the main thing that they like, the lyrics are okay. They're not like the best lyricists. They are incredible musicians. The solos they get are just stunning.
It's really their white hot chemistry as a band. Lightning in a Bottle only lasted a few years, but in terms of chemistry as a band, pretty unmatched.
Yeah.
Would you play Creedence at a party you're hosting?
I absolutely would.
Me
Yes.
too. Do they pass the hot woman in a convertible test?
This is the first time I'll say this. If the hot woman in the convertible doesn't like CCR, I'm not interested.
I'm
playing them anyway.
There you go. Is Creedence cool?
Yeah, of course they're
Yeah,
cool.
I think 3 for 3. So who we got? Queen and Creedence, 3 for 3, and we only got 2 bands left. Very curious.
They
very
have
curious.
the least they feel the most authentic in terms of the way that they dressed and presented themselves. They don't even, as much as they are liars from seeming like they come from down in the bayou. They do just seem like regular guys who are super good at playing music.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It is
Plaid
true.
shirts and jeans.
Yes,
and such.
there's a lack of authenticity
Carpenters.
in some of these
They look like
bands.
carpenters.
They're carpenters. Oh, there you go. Okay, one final break, last 2 bands, and then we're gonna sum up all our findings. So, rabid fans of classic rock know we are missing 2 very important bands. So let's get after them right now in the year of our Lord 2025. We're going to start with the Beatles. John, give me your one-sentence summary for the Beatles.
For those who don't know this little known band here, 4 prodigies whose tense chemistry made them the world's most iconic rock band.
You know the players, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. You know the hits, Twist and Shout. I saw her standing there yesterday. I Want to Hold Your Hand, Hey Jude, Come Together. Countless others. I want to get into our deeper cut Flynn brother favorites. We love the Beatles. It's one of our favorite bands of all time. We ourselves are in a band, and we shamelessly rip off or steal from them every chance we get.
Just like every other band.
Yes, just like every other band that's ever existed. A few of our favorites, Rocky Raccoon, that's off the White Album. Very fun song. We had a teacher in 8th grade who used it in teaching a lesson. Fun narrative country song. Really, really character-y and original. Tell Me Why, I absolutely love one of their earlier songs. Drive My Car. We were listening to Rubber Soul quite a bit a couple of years ago, and we were really loving Drive My Car. We were debating over who's driving the car, the guy, the gal, it's just a fun song. We've always loved When I'm 64. I think When I'm 64, it's kind of one of Paul McCartney's, as the other band members are called, a granny song. And, of course, When I'm 64 is funny, generation later, 2 generations later, because back then, life expectancy was like late 60s. So 64 is now like what now would be like 85. So it's just so funny to think like, when I'm 64, will you still need me? Will you still feed me? And it's like, oh, you're like barely retired.
Yeah. You can still feed yourself at 64.
Yeah, 64. You should be going on runs, bike riding. Off the White Album again. I'm so tired. We used to love that one. We would listen to that one, especially when we were tired. Yellow Submarine. We love the song All Together Now. And then, of course, off Let It Be, I've Got a Feeling. That one rocks hard. We had sort of a newfound appreciation for it when we watched the Peter Jackson Beatles documentary.
Yeah, I think that one is that documentary is pretty much, if you've got 9 hours to burn, which is a long amount of time, it's just so fascinating, though. I mean, it's akin to The Last Dance in terms of the footage that they get. Like, you just get these 4 guys who are beyond iconic and famous, just hanging out, palling around, and they're so used to cameras being around that you don't feel like there's a put on or anything like that. Like, this is their authentic selves. Really gives you a good insight into the way that they came up with their music. I think the other funny thing is they're on this like just murderous deadline. They have to have an album in like a month, and they still take the weekends off, which I think just shows like they were just effortless. I think is as much as they fought and got broken up at the end. When you see their chemistry together, it's like these guys just can't help but make really, really catchy music.
Yes, one of a kind. Would you play the Beatles at a party you're hosting?
Of course, yes.
Yes, of course. Everyone would love it. Do they pass the Hot Woman in a Convertible test?
Yes, they do.
They do, but not every song. But they do.
Fair. Yes, they do have quite a wide variety of songs.
Yellow Submarine, gal pulls up and you're playing Yellow Submarine.
Octopus's Garden, yeah.
A little weird, huh?
Maybe a little weird. Maybe
I'm a little curious on this. I'll
eye.
say yes, but we're a little hesitant maybe, right?
Wow. Yeah, I guess so.
You know what I mean?
Making me reconsider it.
Let's say yes, but there's kind of a
soft yes.
It's a soft
the
yes.
softest yes we've had.
Are they cool?
They're cool.
Yes, they're cool. Absolutely. All right, last one. We've arrived at the Rolling Stones. Give us your 1-sentence summary of the Rolling Stones.
They are the greatest rock and roll band in the world.
You believe that?
That's what they bill themselves as, and I think ever since the Beatles broke up, I think you just have to give it to the Rolling Stones for staying together for so long, as well as really embodying rock and roll.
Yeah, for sure. Keith Richards in particular, Mick Jagger, just the fact that they've lived so long and lived so hard. You could maybe even draw a distinction where it's like, Rolling Stones are the greatest rock band in the world. Beatles are the greatest band in the world.
Yes.
Right?
I think Beatles almost, they're like more, I would even call them closer to like pop, like the best version of pop is what they are. Because they have songs that don't really rock hard. Whereas I'd say the Rolling Stones, the most they get into like acoustic stuff is really like bluesy stuff that still goes pretty hard. Yeah, exactly.
For sure. The players of the Rolling Stones, frontman Mick Jagger, guitarist Keith Richards, multi-instrumentalist Brian Jones, who sadly died young, Bill Wyman, Charlie Watts, Mick Taylor, and Ronnie Wood, all guys who joined later. They're hits, again, like the Beatles, like many of these bands. So many to name. I Can't Get No Satisfaction, Get Off of My Cloud, Paint It Black, Jumpin' Jack Flash, Ruby Tuesday, Sympathy for the Devil, You Can't Always Get What You Want, Give Me Shelter, Start Me Up. All these songs, man, I get chills thinking about them. They're all just so great. They rock so hard. Flynn Brothers favorites. You absolutely love Beast the Burden.
Absolutely. Beast the Burden, a song about a guy who just doesn't want to work too hard.
Yeah. You relate at all?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but you work pretty hard.
That's
buddy.
true.
You work pretty hard.
Well, I'm not lifting stuff.
That's true.
Usually, unless I'm moving.
We love Honky Tonk Woman. We love Wild Horses, Dead Flowers, couple of more country type numbers. It's All Over Now is great. Not Fade Away. Dun, 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 dun. That's a Buddy Holly cover. That's a wonderful song. Have You Seen Your Mother, Baby? Standing in the Shadow. That's another great one. Sweet Virginia. I really love all their country stuff.
Yeah.
They always kind of on their albums would have at least one country song, and yeah, man, I just really love when they go into that wheelhouse. Ain't Too Proud to Beg as well.
Yeah,
Final one.
I think with the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, they're both of their real strong suits is that they're just great shapeshifters.
Yes.
Like they can make a country song, and it sounds like this is the only type of song this band has ever made. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like they're dabbling. It doesn't feel like they're dipping a toe. It feels like this is ultimately, to me, sometimes the Rolling Stones feel like they wish they could just be a country
or a blues band.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yes, I totally get that sense from them. Would you play them at a party or hosting?
for sure.
Yes, I agree. Do they pass the Hot Woman in a Convertible test?
I would say yes, and certainly more so than the Beatles.
Absolutely. Are they cool?
Definitely.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's evaluate our data. So we have 4 bands, I believe, that
Yes.
got 3 check marks. We have Queen.
Yep.
We have CCR.
Yes.
We have the Rolling Stones. And we have the Beatles. These are 4 bands that are sort of competing in this tournament of which is the coolest. I want to throw in a wild card, if I
Whoa.
may. I think AC/DC, we were a little split, but I do think of all these other ones, they are one that, as I'm kind of looking over the list, I think they're one that kind of rise to the top. I'd like to get them a wild card play-in spot.
You're doing the thing where in like the MVP debate,
Right.
You're not saying AC/DC should be the coolest band of all time, but they should be in the conversation.
They should be in the
They should be in the
conversation.
conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could turn on ESPN. They're having this exact chat right now. So let's throw them in. And I think, I guess we could potentially seed these. Is there,
Sure.
is there one that's kind of the weakest of sort of the 4 we named that we could maybe put up against AC/DC to see if they kind of belong in this top 4? And, I'm kind of thinking it's the Beatles because we were
Yeah,
kind of
yes.
waffling on the whole point about
coolness of
yes.
them.
And would you play him with the Hot Woman in the Convertible?
Right.
So let's pit them against each other. AC/DC or the Beatles? Who is cooler?
I'm taking the Beatles. I think
Really?
the Beatles
Really?
are cooler than AC/DC.
Now I really got to think about it. I'm thinking of sort of their logo. AC/DC's got a cooler
Pretty
logo. Wearing shorts on stage, coolish, ironic maybe. Beatles always look super cool, always had very cool looks. A lot more iconic.
Yeah.
Maybe it is the Beatles.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
think
okay. AC/DC, thanks for coming. Glad you could be
Yeah.
in the play-in, but
Right.
we'll move ahead.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go, we'll do one
Well,
versus
so I'd say
one.
Stones and 1, and then 4 is Beatles. So we got to choose between the Stones and the Beatles.
Stones and Beatles.
I think that's a more interesting argument. And then Queen and CCR.
That's
is
wonderful.
interesting
So
as
let's
well.
start with the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. Who is the cooler band? My gut's immediately telling me Rolling Stones.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they are. Yeah, I just think in terms of more
Cool.
songs that are just cool.
It's just cool.
There's a little
right?
bit more artistry with the Beatles for sure.
For sure.
But artists get stuffed in lockers.
Yeah, well, the rock stars are hooking up with chicks, right?
Right.
Absolutely. All right. So Rolling Stones have moved on to the finals. Now, in our other round, we have Queen versus Creedence Clearwater Revival. Who is
Wow.
cooler?
That's
That's a really tough one.
Yes,
isn't it?
because I would say in terms of like as I was saying with Credence seems like the most down to earth guys who are putting the least on.
Yes.
Queen, maybe other than Kiss, are putting the most on. Like there's
Yes.
such a
Yes.
character and mythology sort of surrounding this band.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
One of the things we've been married to throughout this episode is populism. What is the most popular? What will the most different kinds of folk be into?
Yeah.
And from that perspective, I probably think it's Queen.
Yeah.
I think Queen has the most broad appeal. And I
Yeah.
think having broad appeal is pretty cool. Most people would argue, oh, no, you want to be like anti-mainstream to be cool. No, no, no. Cool in this case is, dude, everybody's on board. Everybody's into you.
Yeah, and I think if we were to do the hot chick in the convertible, I think she's more willing to go with the guy listening to Queen than to CCR. As much as I love CCR, you know.
God bless them both. Let's put Queen in the final round.
Yeah.
So in the final, we have the Rolling Stones versus Queen. Let's go over our initial criteria, the cool questions, and we'll do it more comparatively this time.
Okay.
Who would you choose if you had to pick between these two bands? Who would you choose to play at a party you're hosting? Are you going to throw on Queen or are you going to throw on the Rolling Stones? That's a tough question.
Man, I think I'm leaning Queen.
You think so?
I think I am.
Why?
I think even though like We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, those are kind of hacky, I think It's Late, I think Want Somebody to Love, like these are songs that are really going to get the right mood cultivated at the party. Fat Bottom Girls, that's also going to get people laughing.
That's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
That's a crowd pleaser.
I wouldn't say that I'm the biggest listener to Queen. I've obviously heard a ton of their songs throughout my life.
I love them when I'm working out. The
Yeah.
few times a year I do it, I love them when I'm working out.
The Stones, the argument is there's more songs that you could have on the playlist.
Yeah, a little more sonic diversity in terms of genre, longer career, right? More to choose from. I do think you've convinced me, though. I think if you want an iconic, memorable, fun party that everyone has a good time, no matter what type of person they are, you'd play Queen at the party.
There's a little bit more anger and angst in the Stones, and that's not party. That's not a party.
That's not party
feel.
atmosphere.
Queen's good times.
And parties are cool. So we'll go Queen for the first one. Who would you rather have playing in your car if a hot woman in a convertible pulled up next to you at a stoplight?
Again, I'm not saying We Are the Champions. I'm not saying We Will Rock You. These are just like money makers that they had to make.
Right,
that's in my opinion. The true artistry of them. Again,
I disagree on this
you
one.
Think Stones?
I think it's Rolling Stones is way cooler. You're playing Satisfaction. You're playing Get Off of My Cloud, Bob in Your Head.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you're playing...
You think she's into that? You think she's into a guy saying, I can't get no satisfaction?
That's a good question.
This hot chick in a convertible?
Because even if you think you're cool,
right,
other people are who determine you're cool.
Right.
Other people who are determined.
Right.
You determine your success in that field.
I think what I think about Queen in terms of cool, they are a band that everybody has heard of. And yet they exist in the stratosphere just below the Stones and the Beatles in terms of knownness and popularity.
Sure,
to the point where if you're wearing like a Queen shirt or you have a Queen sticker or you're listening to Queen, you're like, you're not exactly a connoisseur. You're a connoisseur of highly, highly popular music.
That's interesting.
Maybe.
And is that cool?
And I think that's cool.
That's cool.
I think that's cool. You want everybody to have a good time, but you're also showing a bit of discernment and a bit of taste.
Well, if I'm moving on to the last question here, who's cooler? It seems like I kind of know which way you're leaning.
Well, the
Queen,
Stones are just so cool.
Would you look me in the eye and say Queen is cooler than the Rolling Stones?
No, I wouldn't.
And I think that's where we reach an impasse.
Yeah.
I don't think I can utter the words Queen is cooler than the Rolling Stones.
No.
Rolling Stones, better name.
Yeah. Yep.
They rock harder.
I wanted to push it hard. I wanted to because I think this is the natural place for this conversation to end and the correct conclusion. Mick Jagger never said Scaramouche, can you do the fandango? And that's not cool.
Right.
That's not cool. So yeah, we gotta give it to the Stones. They're the coolest dudes
You
ever.
said they were the greatest rock and roll band in the world. And now, thanks to us, they're the coolest rock and roll band in the world.
That's it.
So I guess some classic rock is still cool.
Some, yes.
It is still cool-ish.
Ish.
Ish.
There's qualifiers, there's caveats, but you could still feel all right jam into some classic rock if a hot babe,
The convertible
Mustang
pulled up.
convertible
Yeah.
pulled up next to
Oh, God willing. Please subscribe, comment, leave a rating, send questions, comments, or big idea suggestions to our business email, flynnbrospod@gmail.com. Thank you to our producer, Will Slade, and we'll see you next time on the Flynn Brothers Podcast. Take care, buddy.
Buddy, you take care.